6 years in remote or hybrid setups, hence the talk now. And I currently work for Luno in Cape Town as a senior Android developer. Yeah, Luno. Just a little bit about me. I'm a dad of 3 wonderful kids. I love aquariums. I love plants. I love fish. And recently, I love marine tanks. My kids for Finding Nemo, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. That's super exciting. I love reading. A lot of fantasy. More recently, self-help books, if I'm honest, so not as exciting. Love going to gym. And I've lived in the UK for about 7 years or so. Right, so I'm going to set the tone. It has been done for me already, so I feel like the bar has been set high, so maybe I'm just going to bring it down just a tad. So this is the talk about some of my learnings in my career so far. As I said, I've been doing this for quite some time now. This is not really a techie talk, so your brains can relax a little bit now. It's been a long day. There's nothing to record. There's no photos to take on the screen. It's all going to be me. I try to limit the content of the slides. It's going to talk from the heart. Promise I've practiced this lots and millions of times, but it's mostly going to come from the heart. I will share some tips and tricks, and there might be 1 or 2 little bits of technical advice in the slides, but I'll keep it to a minimum. Right, so something I wanted to cover before I started diving into those tips and tricks is imposter syndrome. So for those of you who don't know, imposter syndrome is that self-doubt you have, that lack of confidence when you feel you don't deserve to be where you are. You feel you can't achieve what the goals that have been set for you, maybe by your colleagues or your company. And you feel generally like you just don't belong. You're in the wrong place. It's not for you. How did I get here? I don't deserve this. Hands up, anyone who's ever experienced this? Yeah. So I'm going to put my hands up as well. Experiencing this a little bit now. This is my first public speaking event, so I'm definitely feeling it. So please help me along. Something I want to let you guys all know that this is something everyone feels. So I've spoken to interns, juniors, seniors, product managers. I've even spoken to some CTOs and CEOs, and they all feel it. I mean, I've even heard of CEOs having little self-help groups for imposter syndrome. So trust me, it's not just you. Unfortunately, it's never going to go away, in my opinion, but you'll learn to get over it. You'll learn to conquer it every single time and get better and better. It's just something we have to face. Right, so let's kick off the actual talk. The talk is, we're going to start off, so I'm going to do this in little transitions to set everything apart. So since I'm told now predominantly junior in the audience, we're going to focus heavily on this section. I'll try to get to everything else and watch the time. Okay, cool. So I'm going to say something that might be a little bit controversial, a little shocking, and say to you that this point in your career as a junior going into a senior role or aiming for a senior role is probably, in my opinion at least, one of the hardest points in your career. Yes, you've just started, so why are they the hardest already? But this is the point in your career where I feel from my experience, and we'll speak of mentoring other juniors, that where you just have no idea about what you don't know, what to learn, where to go, what to study, who to talk to, what is expected of you, how much work you should be doing, how much little work you're doing, how much you should push back on your teammates or your bosses. You just have no clue. So it can be a very stressful period. I'm going to try and point at some of the main challenges I find juniors have in this field and I myself experienced, and then I'll give you some tips along the way on how to overcome this. So let's dive into the challenges first. These are the challenges of moving from junior to senior. Just to remind you, we're going to stick on here for just a little bit longer. So the first one is, it's hard to look at the slides on school. The first one is, I'll look over here, pressure to perform and prove yourself. So what I mean by this is you've entered a new job, maybe you got a degree, maybe you didn't, doesn't really matter. But you got the job, like, this is awesome, I'm great, got my first real role, my first paycheck, I'm going to be a developer, developing is awesome. But now I need to prove myself, right? You've got that imposter syndrome I mentioned earlier. I assume most of us have when we start out. Kudos to you if you didn't. But it's really a tough period in your career where you're really fighting to really prove yourself and earn your place and your right to be there. At least it feels that way. The other challenge you might face is a high workload and the need to earn trust. So what I mean by that is This is going to sound horrible, but I've experienced this a few times now. Generally, especially if you're going into a larger company, the juniors get given a hell of a lot of work and not always a lot of exciting work. It's kind of the work that's low risk to the company that needs to get done. So a great example I can give you there is, hey, junior, please fix our 1,000 tests we have running. They're super old. They need to be refactored. Sounds horrible, not super exciting. Maybe exciting for the first 100 tests or so, but not much longer. But that's just the way that you earn trust, you get experience in the company, you learn the code base, and it's a slog you kind of get through. Doesn't sound super great, but if I'd seen this once, I'd say, that was just a crappy company or something, or the culture, but I see it all the time. And that's just what you have to get through. Unfortunately, you're not going to dive into your career as a junior and start doing the big bells and whistles. You're not going to build your company's first checkout experience. Maybe you are, could be wrong. But I'm just speaking in general terms here. And the third and final challenge I would say you face is you navigating unfamiliar projects and responsibilities. So, for example, you might start a job in, I'm at Luna right now, crypto. You might have zero knowledge of what crypto is. You need to learn what the priorities of the company are. You need to learn their processes and structure. You need to basically learn everything. You need to, are they doing Scrum, are they doing Kanban, or are they doing Waterfall? Hopefully not. You need to learn all this. And then to compound that, as a junior, you might be jumping around companies for the first few years in your career, and every second year. I've heard a lot of people recommend that as a good thing. But that means you need to relearn the tools that you're using, relearn basically everything. And so as soon as you gain that confidence, you move, and you've got to learn everything afresh. It sometimes feels like a brand new job. I've had juniors tell me that it's such a struggle. And especially in the mobile sphere, as I mentioned earlier, I'm an Android developer, where the tech seems to change every 3 months or so. It feels like just as you've got a grasp and you can do it, and yes, the next time they ask for a feature, I can do it, the whole landscape has changed. Cool. So I'm going to give you a little analogy right now. Yes, so my main love is Android. I've done lots of things in the last two decades, but Android's my love. So you're going to see Android a lot in these slides. Just a little nudge, what the best platform is. And I've nothing's wrong with Apple there. You see a little logo, it's fine. I hope it's a lot. But I want to set this analogy, and I'm going to use it quite a bit throughout the talk. And then something I call getting on the jet ski, right? So what I mean by getting on the jet ski is I want you to imagine you're a junior developer. So for those of you who aren't juniors and you were once upon a time, please bring yourself back to that mindset. I know it might be a scary place, but it's also a very exciting place. You never learn more than you are a junior developer, at least in my experience. So you're a junior developer, you're on this island, the junior island, and you want to get up to that senior island far away into the distance. There's a choppy ocean in front of you, it's freezing cold, bitterly cold. There's a deep, dark ocean. Monsters lurk beneath. You don't know how you're going to cross this. You know you have to cross this, but it's such an unknown. Because you're a junior, you have no idea what to do next. No one's given me the playbook. We all wish there was a playbook. I know some of you thought maybe this talk was the playbook. This is just some little advice and tips to help you nudge you in the right direction. Sorry, I'm not going to solve all the problems in 30 minutes. So to get back to the analogy, I would say you need to seek support from your community. So it sounds maybe a little bit flippant, a little bit obvious, but this is something I see that people really like all the time. So what I mean by that is speak to your colleagues, ask for advice, ask for help. Don't be embarrassed. There are no dumb questions. And I know people say this, but there really, really aren't. If there's no one in your company, maybe you're a solo developer, maybe it's a startup, you're the only developer, go online, see communities. In South Africa alone, there's a lot of dedicated tech Slack communities you can join. Tons and tons of people willing to help you. If you want to broaden the horizon, go worldwide. Join meetups, join conferences. A lot of meetups are online as well. So you're no longer limited to just meetups here. You can join meetups around the UK or in America or wherever you want to go. There's just such a broad community and so many developers are there to help you along the way. You are not alone. You're never, ever alone. There's people around you all the time going through exactly what you're doing right now. So to close off my analogy there, I would say your community is your jet ski, right? So you don't have to struggle. You don't have to swim this alone. Get on that jet ski and shoot ahead and you'll get there. Cool. So we're going to do 2 more slides on this section of junior to senior, just because it's such a difficult time in your career. I hope you'll appreciate my little Android pictures there. Shout out to Dali over there. So how to make the leap. I'm going to give you some little tips here, and then I'm going to give you a little story about how I feel I achieved as an example of how you can achieve this yourself. So a lot of junior developers I've met, and I'm drawing off even recent memory now when I speak to them, they've worked hard, they've really achieved their goals, they've got their issue counts down, they've fixed all the bugs, they're great, but they're not getting promotions, they're not getting recognized. What's going wrong, right? They've just focused on the code and nothing else. So I would say you need to volunteer. So the next time something comes across the table in your team meeting or online, on Slack, or whatever tool you're using, and say, oh, we don't know how to do this, we're struggling, who can we reach out to? So-and-so super busy, we've got this stuff due next month, what to do? And you need to put your hand up and say, like, that's me, I'll take that. Don't worry about it. I know I'm new, please give me some trust, give me a chance, I'll take that. You need to step forward. This is terrifying for a lot of developers. I know we're not always very people-centric. It's hard to put ourselves out there, but I really, really advise you to do this. The other way, kind of in the same vein, is to lead initiatives. So not just volunteer for what's coming across to you, but actually generate them yourself. So this doesn't have to be groundbreaking features like, oh, Flip, how am I going to improve our product? I don't know. I'm not a product person. Maybe you want to improve the analytics platform your company is currently using, or maybe you just want to improve the process. You don't like how they're doing Scrum or something. Those all matter. Those all count. Those all create impact on the company. They all introduce value to the company. So put those forward. Bring them to your teammates saying, I really like to do this. Maybe make a 2-page. It depends on your company's structure. I've had companies where you got to write an 8-pager. Hopefully it's not that. But do what you can to lead these initiatives and introduce them to the company. And trust me, you'll be recognized and it'll look great on your CV. So the last point on the slide I want to make is connecting. So this kind of brings you back to the jet ski analogy, but you really need to connect to all your colleagues, not just in your company, but across the whole community. I know this is like a tough ask. Maybe we've all got busy lives, but 3 kids myself, but it's really hard to keep track. But there are ways and means of minimizing the effort here, but really getting all the gains. You know, join the Android Weekly if you're doing Android. Don't live on Reddit. There's better ways of doing it. Join a local Slack community. There's tons of ways you can do this and really help. And just remember that you've got something to teach as a junior. You've got something to teach everyone you meet, and so do they. Everyone you meet has something to teach you. So that maybe teaches you a little bit of humility over there. So I want to give you a little example of how I feel I demonstrated these qualities. Just do a time check. Okay, I'm going to speak a little bit faster now. Some little examples. So it's linked to the picture there. You'll get a tip of what it's about. So once upon a time, I worked as a junior developer. We had an iOS app. We outsourced the iOS app. And there was a release day. It was awesome. We were super excited. Everyone in the office was amped. Company gave us the app. Said, sweet, maybe we should just quickly check it out. You know, before we release, you check it out. App crash. Flip. It's releasing today. This is all a true story. It's releasing today. Marketing comms have gone out. We don't have funds to now go fix this, change everything. What do we do? People are like literally pulling their hair out in the office. It's not a happy place to be. So I decided to take the leap, get over that imposter syndrome as a junior. And I put my hand up and said, don't worry about it. I'll figure this out. I'll have this app fixed by the end of the day. And you've got to remember that I've never seen iOS code at this time. I didn't know what Objective-C was. There was no Swift. That's how old I am. But I thought, let me do this. Let's take a chance. What's the worst that could happen, right? Luckily, it really paid off for me. The app got released. I fixed the bugs. They weren't too bad. And that's how I earned the title of iOS developer. So one more slide on the transition from junior to senior. Don't worry, the other transitions will be a little bit shorter. The first one here, and maybe I should have put this first, is find a mentor, right? So this leads back into the community realm, but now I'm saying just find one person. Find someone who's been through the journey that you've been through, someone who knows your struggles, who knows how anxious you can get, how difficult things can seem, how impossible tasks can be for you, and it can really guide you through those processes. Kind of like maybe if you feel like someone who should have taught you everything that the school didn't, kind of thing, or the university didn't, or wherever you went, that person's going to be crucial to your growth, and it's going to like skyrocket your growth. When I'm saying skyrocket, like I feel like you have a mentor, instead of like jumping from junior to senior in like 5 years, you can get it done in a year or 2. Like that's my experience with mentors, really good mentors, really into this. Another one is if you want to get like a super A+, especially on your CV. Before I said you need to volunteer for projects or take lead initiatives, I want to say now you need to lead projects. Now this seems a bit scary. Remember, you're a junior in the scenario, but this is something anyone can do, and ideally anyone in the company, not just the developers, but we're going to concentrate on the junior developers here. So what I mean by this is you taking an initiative you've introduced or you volunteered for and seeing it from start to finish. So you don't have to do everything yourself, but you're the leader of this project, right? So you're managing the process of this. You're creating the spec for it. You're doing the market research. You can speak to marketing. I'm not telling you have to learn how to do that, but you're coordinating it. You getting the mockups. I myself have used Paint in the past to make mockups. Back in the day, I didn't know Figma didn't exist. I've used Paint to make mockups, and do the actual code, tell them what's possible, what's not possible, and see it to release, and then help them measure success. This will be such a big feather in your cap, and it sounds like, oh, but I haven't earned this, I'm only a junior, this is what the leads are doing, or like, I don't know what marketing is. Trust me, you don't have to do everything, you just have to coordinate, you have to be there, and you have to show interest and drive. This is massive. Like if you've got this on your CV, I don't want to harp on this, we're not doing everything for the CV, but it does help. This will be massive. This is like the first tagline on your CV if you can achieve this. And the first and last piece of technical advice, I didn't want to make this talk technical, but I thought about this long and hard, and I thought, okay, for juniors, there is something that I have to talk about, and that is know your design patterns. So it doesn't really matter what language you're doing, what platform you're doing, you really, really need to get in your tool belt, right? So there might be 5 or 10 top design patterns. Most design patterns apply to most languages. Not all the time, I know, but most of the time. Learn these, right? It's really going to help you solve your problems, and it's going to like give you that 10x experience. So next time you get a problem statement that comes across your desk, build this feature, solve this bug, it's going to really like help you leapfrog and skip hours of work and research. You're just going to know, oh, that fits into that box. I know how to solve this. Go start coding. Really, really please learn the design patterns. Don't start coding and thinking you're going to become a senior and figure the design patterns on the way. You need to actively learn these. Go online. I myself go on all the time. I forget them. I've got my favorite links on GitHub. I go there and remind myself what are the current design patterns. Quick little story. Quick little story. Early on in my career, I found a mentor. He's the lovely man on the left there on the slides, Graydon. So Graydon was an architect at the company I worked for, and I said, like, I'm struggling. I don't know what to do. I was a junior. That was around when I became an iOS developer as well. Like, please help me out. So he was super cool with this. He was on board. And what that entailed for me was I attended all the meetings where I was allowed to with him. So all those top level meetings. I was part of all these architectural decisions. He explained how his mind worked. I sat with him after hours, sometimes until 12 at night, and watched him code over his shoulder, like stalker vibes. Super, super helpful. And I asked him lots of questions all the time. No such thing as stupid questions, but there were a few times when he thought, like, wait a second, like, how do you not know that? Like, don't they teach this stuff to you? Like, I remember asking him about, like, SQL joins. Like, what is that? And he had to do a double take and laughed a little bit and then proceeded to teach me. So not just being the stupid questions. But this will stick for me the rest of my life. And I honestly believe I wouldn't be close to where I am in my career now if it wasn't for having my mentor. And after Graydon, I've had a few others and other outcomes I've worked at. And I remain in contact with all of them. Cool, that's the junior to senior done. I am speaking a little bit too slowly, so we're going to speed up. Why do I keep slowing down? Okay, so this is from senior to lead staff roles. When I say lead staff, there's so many titles. I'm not going to try and cover them. Just think about that next role after senior. Not like senior 1, 2, 3, but like whatever the next role after that is in your company that is still an individual contributor, right? So let's just go with lead and staff for now, but hopefully that makes sense. I would like to highlight, in my experience, this is the first time in your career where you're not just laser focused on the code anymore. Of course, you're always a team player, you always care about the team, but now your work is going to start shifting a little bit into people. So for those of us who get uncomfortable with those kind of relationships, this is where you need to start really getting into it and you need to learn this skill. It's super crucial. So I titled this wonderful slide, Stepping Up, Positioning to Lead Roles, with a wonderful Android man on the ship. That's the lead, pointing everyone and telling them where to go and keeping them safe. So if you can remember, this looks super similar to what I said in the other slides, volunteer to lead projects. So before I said take initiative, volunteer, lead from start to finish. Now I'm saying, like, that was nice, that was cool for your CV, that helped you learn a lot, that made you stick out, people noticed you. This is now crucial. This is not like a nice to have, this is something you have to do now. Everyone's welcome to disagree with me. I'm more than happy to. This is just my opinion, but this is something I feel really, really strongly for. Also, I want to, before I continue, I want to say something about this. Often people, like, especially once you've gotten this part of the career, maybe you've been coding for 10 years, you're kind of like, well, I want this lead role, I'm not getting this lead role, like, give it to me now. But I also don't want to do the stuff until I get the lead role. This is something you need to perform. In most places you work, you need to demonstrate these skills before you get recognized and get those promotions. So this is something you can do before you get the promotion. So I wouldn't say this is just for people going for a lead. This could be seniors doing this for the next 2 years, 3 years, depends, 6 months. But this is something you really need to lean in to. And also, by doing this, you'll get a taste of this is something where you want to go in your career, because it's not for everyone. Because I said, as I remember, I said, you're leaving the code just a little bit behind at this point in your career now, maybe like 80-20, it depends. I've met some leads who do no code, I've met some leads that only do code. So let's just focus on those leads that do maybe 80% code, 20% people stuff. But this is something you need to start seeing if you're interested in, and something that you're good at. Maybe you don't like people, maybe you do like people, maybe you love handling conflict, maybe you don't. This is a great way to test it out. And as I said, they create impact beyond code. So what I mean is by making an impact on your teammates, being there for them, and not just delivering great code, but ensuring they're delivering great code, ensuring they're all in the same picture, they're all aligned in the company's vision and the company's goals and the processes of how they're coding and the best practices they implement. This is now part of your responsibility. And the third point I want to make there is be for your team, be consistent. So what I mean by that is now, because it's not just about you and it's also about your team, you need to start being available for people to lean on you, for your team to lean on you, for ask for help, but do this consistently, right? So don't just say like, oh, this is a good week, ask me questions, I'm going to do all your code reviews and help you out. Oh, you've got a problem with that, I'm going to pair code with you. That's all great, but then don't stop the next week and then not do that for 2 weeks and then come back. You need to be consistent, trustworthy, and reliable, especially if you want to get this promotion and stick with that lead staff role. This is going to be crucial. We're running out of time. So I'll just quickly summarize there. So with my experience being in this, I've been lucky enough, I'm 5 minutes, okay. 5 minutes. Let's just get this one, guys. Sorry, you can ask me later. So this is the transition from leadership, so that staff lead role, to a more people-focused role. So I myself have never held a pure people-focused role, so I'm not going to talk too much on it, especially since we have 5 minutes left. But I do have mates, and I've spoken to a lot of the people in this role, so I think I can glean a little bit from it. So I want to highlight something here that's super important and was like a massive eye-opener for me. A lot of people are like, okay, I've reached the ceiling. I'm like a senior or a lead or a staff, depending on your company, or maybe an architect that still exists in some companies. Where do I go now? I still want to grow, but I don't want to handle like people too much. So there are paths in some companies where you can be an individual IC all the way up to a CTO. I've never experienced this, but I've done my research, and this does exist. So it's out there. I'm just saying that's a path. We're not going to discuss that now, but I'm just saying it is there for you. This is not what people is not something you really want to focus on. So now your shift, I would say, instead of like 80-20, is almost 100% going to be on people. This is scary for a lot of us. This is putting your team first. So this is taking care of their mental health, making sure they're on track, monitoring their career growth, aiding them, enabling them to grow better, to their best selves, right? It might sound like nothing, but it's super important, and you're there to enable people and change their lives and help them grow. So this whole talk before was about career growth and for yourself. Now you're at the point in your career where you're all about other people's growth. And trust me, this will shine the light on you indirectly now. Once you've seen that you've earned the trust of your team and you've created clear communication skills for them, which is very difficult in a remote landscape. I'm sorry, I'm skipping a lot because we're running out of time here. But it's very difficult because, especially remotely, we work across different regions, different cultures. This role now becomes doubly difficult because it might surprise you to know, if you haven't worked with companies all across the globe, but different cultures, different peoples have vast different approaches of how to communicate and how to work. What you might take as for granted, how you talk, how you communicate, how you ask for things, how you promote yourself will be completely different in a different culture. So now this real part of your job in this role now is to iron those kinks out and create facilities for people to clearly communicate, not have any misunderstandings, and if they are, assist in ironing them out. So this is a very difficult and scary role for some, especially if you're working in a completely remote role that's with people all across the globe with very different cultures. Let's go. Okay, I'm gonna bonus round. Okay, just skip that one. So something I've noticed in South Africa especially, but everywhere else, is that there's a definite lack of personal branding for our developers. This was me as well. We don't market ourselves, right? We just think our work or our achievements at our previous job or our CV will shine a light on us and we'll shoot ahead in our career, and that's all we need to do. We're on the train and the train will take us forward. I'm going to tell you, in this really tough market, you need to distinguish yourself. So a big way of doing this is marketing yourself on LinkedIn. It's the social media network for business. So this is the best platform to get the furthest reach. And one of the ways you can do this is creating an intentional profile. So I've just snipped it there. I'm not saying it's the best. I'm not even saying it's the worst. Just an example. Make your taglines stick out. Make them a bit more, give them personality. Make them in 2-3 lines. Introduce who you are to whoever's looking at your profile, and post things. Right? This is scary. Post as frequently as possible. Try and become an authority in some area in your field. Someone can go to and learn things from. And here's a little quick tip I'm going to give. When you make those posts and people comment on it, comment back. So it's going to sound a little bit crazy now, but every single time you comment back, you might see other people commenting all the time like cool, or like thumbs up. Why are they doing it all the time? They're doing that because every single time you comment back, your post comes to the top of someone else's feed who's ever is following you on LinkedIn. So it's like you're constantly pushing back up. You're constantly getting eyes. People are seeing you, recognizing you, and that might land you your next role. So really, you need to lean into this and do this. As I said, help you stand out. So I don't want to get cut off now. I'm just going to quickly summarize some of the things across all these transitions I mentioned. So the highlight is your growth, especially if you don't want to just stay a senior developer beyond that. Being senior is perfectly fine. I've met lots of developers who want to stay developing and be senior developers until they die. But if that's not for you, you need to start acknowledging that your growth is not just technical. It's going to be about people. It's going to be about your people skills, your community, your relationships, how you communicate. All of that is going to be crucial. It doesn't come naturally to a lot of us. We've got this kind of like stigma as developers sometimes. We don't talk, we just code. And that's not always true, obviously. But it does, there's a grain of truth there, right? So we need something we need to work on. Part of that is, as I said earlier, having confidence and pushing past your imposter syndrome. I'm trying to do it right now. And stepping out of your comfort zone. So I really believe if you're super comfortable, you're not really growing. If you are, it's very, very slow. If you find yourself sitting there thinking, oh gosh, like job's super easy, I'm comfortable with my salary, it could be better. Of course, I could get a better car, but I'm very happy now. I'm just going to sit there. That's fine for some, but you also have to acknowledge you're probably not growing much anymore. Your growth is going to start stagnating. So if you're super comfortable, do something to get yourself out of the comfort zone. Do a talk, start posting online, join some communities, ask for promotion, all those examples, and then build trust and leadership. So, build trust and leadership. So basically what I want to say is, when you're thinking about leadership is not something you study for, or something you push yourself into. It's something you're recognized for, and something other people elevate you into. So this is not something you can force. If you're not getting that role, there's a good chance it's because you haven't exhibited those properties here that people are looking for, and this is something you need to work on. It's probably going to be around people and in how you communicate. That's a super broad comment, but I acknowledge it. I'm too rushed. Sorry. You've stopped me. Oh, okay, there we go. So this is me when I had the start of my career. when I was super young and handsome and didn't have any kids. Can't see in the light, but I'm white. So we all start somewhere. Just you need to just, as Mike says, just do it. Just conquer that imposter syndrome. There's my LinkedIn. I don't think we have time for questions, although I'm happy to take. Yes.
After the next session.
Sure. After the next session. Cool. Cool. Thanks, everyone.